You open your banking app on a quiet Tuesday evening. Nothing looks wrong. The salary hit. The rent cleared. The usual transfers went through. Your balance sits where it always sits, give or take a few hundred. You close the app and feel for a moment that things are under control. They are not. Somewhere between the salary and the balance, 5 ordinary habits have already taken their cut. None of them arrives as a crisis. None of them triggers an alert. They simply move money out of your future and into someone else's present, month after month, year after year, while you remain busy living a life that feels normal. These habits are not dramatic. That is why they work. The first one is almost invisible because it was designed that way. You signed up for a streaming service, a cloud storage plan, a productivity tool, a meditation app, a gym membership you used twice, a free trial that quietly converted. Each one costs less than a lunch. Together they form a permanent line item that never negotiates and rarely gets cancelled. The average household now carries more than a dozen of these recurring charges. Many people cannot name half of them without scrolling through bank statements. The money leaves automatically. The value received declines or disappears entirely. The drain continues. Run the numbers for a moment. $15 here, $12 there, $9, $22, $6. It does not feel like wealth destruction. It feels like background noise. Over a decade, the same money, left alone and compounded at even modest market returns, becomes a 5-figure sum. The subscriptions do not care. They were never built to care. They were built to stay. The second habit sits closer to daily life. It is the decision, repeated dozens of times a month, to pay a premium for speed and ease. Food delivery instead of cooking. Premium shipping instead of waiting. Ride-hailing for trips that public transit or a short walk could handle. The markup is rarely questioned because the alternative requires effort and the effort feels expensive in the moment. Yet the convenience premium is one of the highest effective interest rates most people ever pay. A $20 meal becomes $32 after fees and tip. A $10 item becomes $14. The difference vanishes into the operating costs of companies whose entire model depends on you never doing the slightly harder thing. Over a year, the total is not small. Over 10 years, it is the difference between having an emergency fund and not having one. The market does not reward the person who paid for speed. It rewards the person who kept the difference. The third habit arrives dressed as progress. A new phone every 2 years. New headphones when the old ones still work. A laptop upgrade because the current one feels slow by comparison with the advertisement. None of these purchases is irrational in isolation. Technology improves, status updates. The problem is the speed of the cycle and the financing that often accompanies it. Manufacturers and carriers have refined the upgrade path until it feels almost mandatory. The old device still functions. The new one arrives with a payment plan. The equity in the previous device is treated as a down payment on the next loss. Depreciation here is brutal and predictable. The moment the device leaves the store, it has already surrendered a meaningful portion of its value. The financing stretches the cost across months, while the usefulness of the previous model is discarded. People who keep a phone or laptop for 4 or 5 years instead of 2 quietly retain thousands of dollars that never appear on any bill. The difference compounds. The upgrade cycle does not. The fourth habit is larger and more socially approved. It is the decision to finance or lease items that systematically lose value while the debt remains. Cars are the clearest example, but the pattern appears in furniture packages, electronics, even some home improvements that do not raise the property's market price. The monthly payment feels manageable. The total cost of ownership does not. Interest turns a depreciating asset into a liability that outlives the steepest part of its value decline. Negative equity becomes normal. The next purchase absorbs the shortfall. The cycle continues under the banner of necessary or deserved. Contrast this with the same cash flow directed into assets that hold or grow. The divergence after 10 or 15 years is not subtle. One path produces a vehicle and a smaller balance sheet. The other produces transportation and a larger claim on future income. The market does not grade on effort or intention. It grades on what remains. The fifth habit is the most respectable of all. It is the quiet expansion of spending that arrives with every raise, every bonus, every promotion. The larger apartment, the nicer neighborhood, the better car, the more frequent dinners, the upgraded wardrobe. None of it feels reckless. It feels like the natural reward for harder work. Economists call it lifestyle inflation. The balance sheet calls it a permanent increase in the cost of maintaining the current standard of living. The danger is not the first upgrade. It is the ratcheting effect. Expenses rise to meet income and then stay there. The savings rate that once felt ambitious becomes the new minimum. Any disruption, a job change, a medical bill, a market downturn, lands harder because the margin has been spent in advance. People who keep their living costs relatively stable while income grows create a widening surplus. That surplus, invested consistently, does the heavy lifting. People who let costs rise in lockstep with income remain on a treadmill that looks successful from the outside and feels precarious from the inside. These 5 habits share a common design. They are frictionless, they feel normal, they are socially reinforced, and they extract value continuously rather than in dramatic bursts. That is why they are so effective at draining net worth without ever announcing themselves as the cause. The timing matters more now than it did a generation ago. Housing costs absorb a larger share of income in many cities. Healthcare and education carry heavier loads. Real wage growth for large parts of the workforce has been uneven. Interest rates after years near zero have reminded everyone that debt has a price. In this environment, the quiet leaks become louder. The household that once could absorb 15 or 20% of income vanishing into low-value spending now feels the pressure sooner. The margin for error has narrowed. Popular culture still treats many of these habits as markers of a functioning adult life. Subscriptions signal that you are current. Delivery signals that your time is valuable. New devices signal competence. A financed car signals arrival. Expanding lifestyle signals success. The underlying math treats them as a series of transfers from future optionality into present consumption that does not compound. There is no moral ranking here. Reliability, comfort, and reasonable pleasure matter. The issue is the size of the premium paid for newness, speed, and status, and the speed at which that premium evaporates or fails to grow. A 3-year-old phone still makes calls and runs the same applications. A meal cooked at home still feeds you. A paid-off reliable car still reaches the office. The difference is what happens to the capital that was not spent on the faster, newer, more convenient version. Watch what occurs when someone interrupts even 2 of these patterns. The cancelled subscriptions free a few $100s a month. The reduced delivery habit adds more. The delayed upgrade cycle keeps another few thousand in the account each cycle. The refusal to expand lifestyle with every raise creates a growing surplus. Redirected into a diversified portfolio, the numbers stop looking like lifestyle choices and start looking like a different trajectory. After 5 years, the difference is noticeable. After 15, it can redefine the range of available options. The system that sells these habits is not designed to optimize your net worth. It is designed to maximize recurring revenue, shorten replacement cycles, and normalize the continuous extraction of small amounts of money from large numbers of people. The fact that it feels ordinary is the feature, not the bug. What would the average household balance sheet look like if the default assumption shifted from "this is just how life works" to "every recurring outflow is a capital allocation decision"? The answer is not small, And once you see the 5 habits clearly, it becomes difficult to unsee them.